Hey, Yinzers, welcome back into the YC podcast, supported by YinzerCrazy.com and sponsored by Performance Auto on 1701 Freeport Road, Arnold, PA. I am, as always, Mike, and I thank you so much for your support and for tuning in. We reached a milestone on Twitter this week, hit 2,500 followers in just under a few months of really engaging on that social platform. So we're really excited to keep tweeting. We're facts only here, no fake news over at YinzerCrazy.com. We broke the news yesterday that the Steelers game would be at 4 p.m. tomorrow on Wednesday. And I'm not going to talk much Steelers today on the podcast because I think everybody is kind of sick of doing this dance of will they play, won't they play, when will they play, what's going on with the Ravens locker room, what if the Steelers don't play, what will they do with the game? At this point, only thing we can do is sit back and wait and hear from the NFL if there's another schedule change. And like I've wrote over this past weekend in an article that really gained some traction, I think it's more important ultimately at the end of the day that the Steelers beat COVID-19 than beating the Ravens this week. They can beat the Ravens in Week 18 if they have to play them in Week 18. There's no guaranteeing if the team has an outbreak, they can all beat COVID. And that's what I think is important to keep at the forefront. At the forefront today on our show, though, we are taking you to Pirates Baseball. Yeah, of course, it's snowy in Pittsburgh, cold, blistering winds. I'm sure the only thing on your mind today is baseball. Probably not. It's probably the furthest thing on your mind, in all honesty. But I think it's a good day to maybe take a little break, as I said, from Steelers talk before we get you prime the rest of the week for a Steelers-Ravens preview part due tomorrow, and of course a Steelers recap and chat on Wednesday evening and Thursday. So today let's shift our attention a little bit to the Buccos. Of course, a team that struggled last year and a lot of people wanting to forget they're even a franchise in the Burgh right now. The guy I have on the podcast today is a player that I will certainly never forget. And if you watched Pirates baseball in the early 2000s or are still a fan of this team, this is a dude that I'm sure you're not likely to forget either. It's multiple-time All-Star Jumpin' Jack Flash. Jack Wilson is joining the podcast today. Man, he's got some good stories. He tells you a little bit about playing in that All-Star game with guys like Sosa and Bonds, some significant names. And he also tells you just about his passion for the city as they all rallied around him in his final year as a Pittsburgh Pirate. I touched on his last at-bat where Pirates fans knew that Jack was not going to be coming back the season after, and everybody kind of gave him a standing ovation. He talked about what that meant for him and what his life is kind of like now as he's working back out in California and obviously still involved in baseball. I'll let him tell you the rest of that story. I want to make sure everybody does follow us on social still and stay locked into the Yinzer Crazy podcast as we have another huge guest upcoming, and I'll make that announcement at the end of this show. And it is not a Steeler, it's not a Pirate, but it is from the Ice, once more, the other major franchise in the Burgh. All right, for now I'm going to tease that. I want you to stay tuned to the end of the show as well so we can talk about that a little more. But let's get right into Jumpin' Jack Flash. Jump around, everybody.
This is Jason Kendall, and I know Yinzer Crazy.
Welcome back to the Yinzer Crazy Show. We're going to jump into our next segment with a guy who did plenty of just that during his 8+ years with a Pirates patch on his sleeve. He's one of my favorite former Buccos, and probably yours too. It's shortstop Jack Wilson on the Yinzer Crazy podcast. Jumpin' Jack Flash, what's going on, man? Thanks so much for joining us.
No, thanks for having me, man. It's a good day. I'm excited to talk to you guys.
We're really happy to have you on. I know a lot of our listeners are kind of my age, so grew up watching you play for the Buccos. I'm going to get into some of your early career, but I first want to talk a little bit about your start in the big leagues. You were drafted in 1998 by the Cardinals and traded over the Buccos in 2000. You were a young guy, obviously, at that time who hadn't even stepped on a major league diamond yet. So how was that experience being traded and changing organizations before you even got your jump start in the show?
Yeah, getting traded is crazy. I think I was at AA at the time in Little Rock, Arkansas. We had an off day, and me and my wife were kind of just hanging out, and we kind of knew the Cardinals kind of theme was Tony La Russa was a big veteran guy. He liked having veteran guys at each spot. And the kind of running joke was the only two rookies he really ever liked was like Mark McGwire and Albert Pujols. Two of the best players ever on a Cardinals jersey. But he liked to trade. They like to trade away their prospects to get veteran guys. And if you look at Tony La Russa teams over the years, veteran pretty much at each position with maybe a rookie sprinkled in. So you kind of knew if you were a prospect, you were playing well when it come to trade season and you were our St. Louis Cardinal, there was a pretty good chance you're getting moved because they were always in contention and they always needed something. And obviously, for me, they needed a left-hand reliever in what Jason Christensen ended up being for them in the trade. So really crazy. I mean, phenomenal organization, like top-notch from top to bottom. As you see, the Cardinals are always in it. They always have guys coming up. So I enjoyed my time there, but it was really exciting to get a new start with a new organization and with the chance to hopefully make an impact as a younger player.
Well, you certainly did that. 2002 and 2003, you broke onto the scene with the Buccos, and obviously were heavily involved on those teams. But the year I want to talk about, of course, is 2004. I know we're flashing ahead a little bit. You probably talk about it all the time, but it was an epic year for you, Jack. You hit .308. You had 201 hits, which finished third in the league, becoming the first Buccos shortstop since just Honus Wagner in 1908 to reach that landmark. Jack, prior to that season, did you kind of have an inkling that everything was coming together for you, man?
Well, it was just it's really funny because, like, my whole life, like, was offense. All through high school was offense. I led the state in hitting my junior year in high school, and then went 2 years of junior college and won MVP my sophomore year. Like, so everything about my career as a baseball player was all offensive. In the minor leagues, I won a batting title my first year, hit .340 the next year. So I was always a 300 hitter, and then I got to the big leagues, and obviously the world is different. At that point, you're playing the best in the big leagues, and also too, I think that because I was able defensively to make it to the big leagues and be good enough there at that level defensively, I kind of took a step back offensively because I didn't have the at-bats in AAA, and kind of made that double. I mean, I went from AA straight to the big leagues. So that was a big jump and something that probably wasn't ready for, in hindsight, but at the same time I was able to get up there. And so I kind of look at those first 3 years, which was like a 220, 250, 250. It was kind of like acclimating myself to that level. And then going into 2004, I was sitting down talking to my agent in the offseason, and I'm like, because I was kind of told in a sense that, hey, we have you up here for your defense. Your hitting is kind of secondary. Just catch everything and throw them out. I said,
wow.
Okay, I can do that. And so in the minor leagues, when I was a 300 hitter, if I went 1 for 4, I was livid, and I'm in the cage because I'm so pissed I didn't get at least 2. That was just kind of my mentality my whole life. I always expected myself to hit well. But when I got up there, I kind of bought into being told, hey, you're going to catch the ball. So I put most of my time into sharpening that part of my game and a lot less time working on my swing or making adjustments, because that's kind of what I figured they were asking me to do. So in going into the offseason in 2004, I was like, you know what, I got this defense thing. I've kind of made my mark. I've kind of been able to hold this job. I can still sharpen that tool, but I need to get back on the swinging side. So I focused a lot that offseason on hitting. And, it paid off that year, especially in the start. It was a real hot start, and everything seemed to click. My body was in good shape. I was driving the ball, had a lot of extra base hits. So that was kind of the thought process, and going into that year was like, all right, I'm sick of sucking. I want to get back to the point where I expect myself to go out there and be an offensive player for this team, and was able to take that 2-hole pretty much the entire year. And my claim to fame, I got to hit third one time in Texas, which was like a big deal for me. I got to hit third on a big league team for one time, so I was pretty stoked about that. Just the little things.
That's phenomenal, man. That's really interesting stuff. It kind of sounds like, what you're saying is that balance, in essence, having the organization have you focus a little more defensively. You always knew you were going to hit at some point. Like, you knew that part of your game was going to come around. So it almost sounds like maybe in a way you were thankful because it helped you focus on that part early in your career, which obviously you were a terrific defender.
Yeah. I think it was just kind of a mindset, being 23 and I just turned 23, making it to the big leagues, skipping the level. And when they tell you, hey, you made the big leagues, I really want you to just, focus on catching the ball because hitting's going to be tough. I'm going to listen to that.
Right.
I'm 23 years old. Now you tell me that when I'm 27, 28, I'd be like, you're crazy. This is, but at the time I was young. I didn't think I was going to make the team out of spring training. Nobody did, I don't think. I wasn't that great. But I did. I guess I showed enough to Lloyd in the front office to get that job. But I think that was probably one of the things I regret the most looking back, was kind of accepting that, even though that's what the team was asking me to do, and you want to be up there and help them try to win games, to take care of your pitchers. But I felt like I could have given myself more of a chance instead of just. I said I still believe I know I can hit. I've hit my entire life. I've hit all the way through the minor leagues. There's no reason why I should be able to make this adjustment now. And I kind of just took too long to make that that thought process happen.
You mentioned hitting third as a claim to fame. Well, another claim to fame that we want to drop for you, I'm sure that you're aware of, is that you tied for the league in triples that year with Jimmy Rollins. You told me a little bit about your family off air. You got to tell your family you're the fastest guy in baseball, right?
Right. Yeah. I don't know. It was funny too, because we're in Cincinnati the last series. Going into Cincinnati, I got 199 hits, so I got 3 games to get a knock. I ended up getting a knock on the Friday night game. I think it was the Friday night game, and then so I got the 200, and then Saturday I go like 0 for 3, but I bang a ball off my leg, like off my ankle. Mm-hmm. So my ankle is swollen the next day. But I don't want to finish out not playing the last game of the season. It's Barry Larkin's last game of the season, last game of his career as well in 2004. So I'm like, I'm not missing this. Barry's the man, and he was so great to me over my whole career being in Cincinnati. So I was going to play that last game with him, and the first ball I see, I'm like, first of all, my leg is on fire. I'm just going to swing the first ball I see, and I end up hitting a ball to left center off the wall. And I start to go, and I start going, all right, this is a 3-ball. I was like, all right, cool. And I don't know at the time that I'm tied with Jimmy Rollins, but I get to round first, and my freaking ankle goes, no, we're not doing this. So I end up pulling up at second, and then literally realized like 2 days later that would have been the 13th, and I would have been the sole leader.
Oh, no.
And my brother was the one that told me that, and he was at the game, and he's like, dude, if you'd have just laid that one out and just given it all, you'd have been the sole guy. I'm like,
unbelievable.
Yeah, it hurt, bro. It hurt. But I look back at that time, and it's just so funny that those little things end up, popping up years later where you're like, dude, I would have had the little italic on the back of the card that is kind of like sideways because you're a league leader, but then it's just tied with Jimmy Rollins. Like, dang it.
Dude.
I should have hit that ball off my leg.
Greg Brown had trip on the tip of his tongue, and you ruined that one for him too. No. Listen, we can't take anything away. It's still obviously really cool. We're talking with Jack Wilson, former fastest baseball player of all time on the Yinzer Crazy podcast. Dude, you hit on a perfect transition for us and something that I wanted to talk about when you mentioned Barry Larkin. And that's at 2004 All-Star Game. When I knew we were talking to you, I looked at that roster, and I saw the starting outfield had the names Griffey, Bonds, Sosa. And then you have more names like Pujols, Piazza, Roger Clemens, and of course Barry Larkin. Dude, what the heck was that experience like for you?
Dude, it was so surreal. I mean, walking. First of all, you get named, and it's so exciting. You're calling your family, and they're all getting their flight plans and stuff together, and you just kind of think, and you don't even really think about it until you walk in the clubhouse, and then you just look at everybody around you. You're like, what am I doing here? Yeah. Like, this is insanity. It feels like a dream, and it was just. I was like everybody else. I was a fan. I just wanted to meet him and talk to him. I see him on the field and stuff, but just kind of get to know him, spend some time on BP and stuff like that. And, Barry being Barry just took me under his wings. Barry Larkin, that is. Mm-hmm. Barry Bonds was awesome to me. He was really cool. He came by and congratulated me and said congrats on the first one. Hope there's some more. I was like, oh, dude, thanks, Barry Bonds. That was nice. And then Barry took me around and cool story. I mean, this will tell you everything you need to know about Barry. He's hitting. I think it was the 3 shortstops was me, Edgar Renteria, and Barry. So Edgar Renteria got the fan vote. He was getting the start. Larkin was hitting like 290. So I was like, right. and Barry literally went up to Jack McKeon. He was the manager that year because Marlins won in 2003, and he went up to him. He said, "Listen, I'll pinch hit, but let the kid play the second part of the game, which was meaning let me play." The last 4 innings rather than him going in and actually playing defense.
Oh, how cool.
And I was like, and that's so him. That's so everybody that we know and we love, his type of, his leadership, the player he was, the person he is, to be able to be like, I don't need anything. I'll take it back, but when it comes to the playing time, give it to Jack. And I was just like, man, that was the coolest thing that, Jack McKeon had told me that later after the game, and I thought that was the best. Well, that's Barry for you, He shook my hand, and my first big league hit was a double. he came over and made his way over to me and shook my hand to say congratulations. And then I got the 200 hits that year at the end of the year, and he came over after the last out and shook my hand when I was at second base to say congratulations on 200 hits. I mean, he's the man. I love Barry Larkin.
Wow, some super cool stuff and wild stories there from Jack Wilson, who was a part of that 2004 All-Star game, which is an absolutely stacked, iconic National League and American League roster. Jack, I want to transition into something that obviously is a bit of a different tone. When I was 14 and 15 years old, I was in my backyard mimicking you and Jose Castillo. That double play combination for me was just an all-time one. You guys, I grew up watching you guys obviously each day. Jose, tragically, of course, almost 2 years ago to the day, passed away in his home country of Venezuela in a car accident. How will you remember Jose as your double play partner, Jack, and just a guy?
Incredibly talented.
Mm-hmm.
He came up as a shortstop, and he could hit for power. He showed flashes of that over the course of his career. He's very strong, had a very incredible arm, incredible hands. Really good guy. Obviously, the language barrier was something that, we didn't get too close because of that, because my Spanish was terrible and his English was probably rates the same on his side, but I always felt like he was a very good teammate. He was very good with the other players. He showed up. He worked hard. And I think that it's sad because I know that he was still playing at the time in Venezuela, still loving baseball, still doing his thing. And when Fred Sanchez came along, he kind of took over his role and spot on the team. And I felt like I always enjoyed my time with Jose, and we were able to do some things up the middle and be really creative on some things. He was a lot of fun to work with. It's sad. It's sad when things like that happen, for sure. And I just you miss those guys. You miss your teammates. You went out there, especially your double play partner who you went out there hundreds of times a year and getting some work done.
Yeah, your chemistry on the field was certainly palpable in the Pittsburgh area, man. We're thinking about Jose Castillo and his family today. I also want to, touch a little bit up on, more on the field stuff for you, and we're going to flash forward once more again. September 21st, 2008, Jack, Pirates home finale against the Astros, and it kind of everybody, was feeling that it might be your last year in black and gold due to some contract situation. You stepped to the plate in the fifth inning, you hit a rocket off of Roy Oswalt. What do you remember about the moment and the passion Pittsburgh showed you at that moment?
It was crazy. I mean, I had broken my finger. I had a fractured finger. Ball came up and hit me about a week and a half, 2 weeks earlier at PNC on a day game, and split my bone on my pointer finger on my throwing hand. So I was trying like heck to get back and somehow play and somehow do something for the team. It was in September, but there was rumors and stuff. There's always rumors in baseball and stuff like that about going into the last year of the contract and all this other stuff. So I just wanted to make sure that I did my best to try to get back on the field, especially that last home game. And so I was able to kind of fix my bat to where it had like a certain pad on it that stuck out. And I was able to hit with basically my pointer finger not actually touching the bat. It was actually just sitting on the pad, and it was comfortable. So I actually had a pinch hit the night before, pinch hit appearance, and then going to that day game, really didn't expect too much. I was just trying to get back on the field, and if this was my last at bat as a Pirate, I was definitely wanted to be at home and to give it a go. And Roy Oswalt, I probably got like 90 at bats off that guy over the course of our time in the big leagues, and then I faced him every year in the minor leagues too. So it was kind of that really cool thing. And I stepped up to the plate, and Brad Ausmus was the catcher, and he goes, dude, can you even hit? And I'm like, bro, come on. I'm going to give this a go. Just give me a heater. He just laughed. I think he threw me a first pitch curveball.
That's hilarious. The Oswalt 12-6.
The ovation and the people standing up and, Brad Ausmus kind of taking his time getting back there was really, really cool. Didn't really expect it. I really enjoyed that moment. And then obviously getting the hit was even better. It was really cool. And I put some dirt in my back pocket just in case it was the last time. And, thankfully it wasn't. I was able to come back the next year and put on the black and gold again. So, but it was a really cool moment. Nothing like I've ever had anything like that before. So it was really cool.
We obviously feel like the pride of Pittsburghers is unmatched, at least in regard to sports.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad that you'll
Absolutely.
echo some of those sentiments, man. Of course, here on the Yinzer Crazy podcast. And listen, and it's another good transition because we always like to take at least one fan question for our audience to the athlete. Now, I thought this one was really interesting. This is from Ron in Oakdale, and Ron wants to know, Jack, how cool was it to have a bobblehead? And do you have any say in designing that thing? And do you have them laying around somewhere?
Yeah, I have a bunch, which is good because they basically put aside a bunch and they ship it to your home wherever you're at, so you have it for your family and stuff like that. And funny story was I had two. The first one was me fielding, and the second one in a white uniform, the old sleeveless.
Right.
And then the second one was me hitting in a gray uniform. And since then, since you retire, you do golf tournaments and you do stuff and you donate stuff to raise money or whatnot. So a lot of those bobbleheads have gone that way. Then I realized the other day, I was like, oh my goodness, like I have plenty of the white ones, but I was down to like 2 of the gray ones out of like 100 that I probably received. So I started going on eBay and buying my own bobblehead because I realized I don't have anything for my grandkids.
That is incredible.
I need, and they're only like $6 or $7 with like free shipping. So I literally bought like 10 or 11 of the gray version of bobbleheads off of eBay because I was like, I'm such an idiot. Like I thought I had another box of these. And I was thinking grandkids and nieces and nephews and stuff that. Stuff like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even have enough to give my own kids. So
that is hilarious.
I'm like, yeah, I'm a big eBay guy. Like, I started like trying to find special cards of mine to give to people as gifts. I found one card in particular. I don't know. I don't even know how we got on this, but I found one card in particular was a past, present, and future Pirates card, and my son and Neil Walker were like inseparable when my son Jacob was a little guy.
Yeah.
Neil Walker was like the best. He was a young prospect, but he and Jake somehow just clicked and spent a lot of time with each other. And I found a card that was 3 signatures, was past Ralph Kiner signature on the card. Then somehow I got on there. It was a signature on a card, and then Neil Walker was the future, and his signature was all on the same card. So I spent like $65 or $70 on that boy, and I gave it to Jacob for Christmas one year. Wow. So I go on there all the time trying to find just random stuff that I would never find normally, just to kind of keep as kind of like the bobbleheads, keep things for the generation Wilsons or whatever you may say down the road. Because I got my son and my 2 girls, so hopefully grandkids and a flourishing in the future, and I'll at least have some stuff for them.
Dude, I'm just trying to replicate the feeling of being like Phil in northern PA, let's call it like maybe Erie, sitting there trying to maybe sell a Jack Wilson bobblehead, and the person buying the bobblehead is Jack Wilson.
Yeah, you know what? My name on there, I don't think it's you're able to kind of.
I don't think you would know.
I don't think you would know, but somebody did once. Somebody reached down there like, is this the? And I'm like, oh boy. I'm like, yeah, sorry, bro.
You're like, nope.
He's like, no problem. Let me know if you ever need anything. I'm like, all right, cool.
Dude, that is amazing. I can't think of a better way to end that conversation. That is just the funniest story.
I will say this, to help answer the question, we do get like, they would make like 2 or 3 different bobbleheads, and you gotta kind of choose which one that you felt would be the one that you like the most.
Oh, okay, interesting. So you do get some
say. So my first one with me throwing has long pants, but they made one with short pants. So I got to choose between those 2. So I actually have the prototype at my house of the short pant one, which nobody else has, which is really cool. But you kind of get an idea. They'll kind of show you it and be like, hey, what do you think about this one? And I'm like, oh, I'll take B. That works. Really, it's already the fact that they're making a bobblehead of you in first place is crazy cool, and then that day comes and it's all about they cheer louder for you that day. They're all excited. All the kids, you sign a bunch of them or whatnot. But it's a really cool thing to have a bobblehead, and especially on that day. My son threw on the first one. My son threw out their first pitch at PNC Park on the bobblehead day, which was fun, which was awesome. So the whole package of it, that day and having a bobblehead is a really cool experience.
That is fantastic. You should sell that prototype back to the guy that you bought them from. No.
That
would shock him.
You give me 5 of these, I'll give you 1 of these.
Yeah, right. Hey, man, let's get you out of here on this. I know you're just touching on your family, and I'm sure you're very proud of everything going on there. Tell viewers and listeners out there a little bit about what you're doing currently in California. I know you're obviously raising a baseball-loving family,
Yes.
and you're helping with some baseball too, right?
Yes, yeah. So I went back to my alma mater, my high school. I've been coaching there for the last 5 years. Had my son there for the last 4. My son Jacob, he's 18 now. He's actually a freshman at Grand Canyon University, and he'll be starting his baseball collegiate career there this year. So we're excited to, and that's right there in Phoenix, Arizona. So it's not too far away from us. And then I have my daughter Jaden is a freshman in high school. She's a soccer player, and then my other daughter Jersey is a 7th grader. She's a soccer player. So. Just a lot of sports happening, a lot of fun. Obviously right now it's tough. A lot of sports aren't happening here in California, so we're kind of trying to make the best of it, like everywhere else. But we're a big Pittsburgh loving family. We have our Steelers jerseys, we have our Penguins jerseys, and we have our Pirates jerseys, and we don't rep anything else for sure.
Oh, awesome.
So we're Pittsburgh through and through. We love seeing our boys taking care of business this last weekend. Steelers are killing it. We're loving life right now. So, always Pittsburgh sports fans for sure. We're excited to see the city flourishing and hope to see the Pirates make a good push this next year with their young core, Cabron Hayes and all those guys. So, we got a lot of fans out here, a lot of Pittsburgh fans out here in California.
Dude, we got a lot of people in our circle, obviously, as well, who are excited to hear what you've been up to and catch up with you a little bit on this podcast. Once again, I can't thank you enough. Congratulations on all that good stuff you got going on the West Coast. Obviously, when things cool down a bit in regard to the pandemic, you got to make your way back to the Berg for a game or two, and hopefully get some fans out that can catch you then.
Absolutely. No, I was going to come out last year and celebrate the 20th anniversary of PNC Park, and oh man, I was excited for that. So yeah. I like to come back at least once a year and catch a game. So. Hopefully, here in the near future, we can be able to do that.
He is the fastest baseball player of all time, and he's also might be your competition for the bobbleheads you're buying of him on eBay if you're listening to this podcast. Jumpin' Jack Flash, dude, thanks so much once again for the time. It's been a pleasure. Let's do it again.
Anytime. Thanks, guys.
Man, oh man, what a good guy. If you could not sense that from our conversation from Jack Wilson, you probably already knew it because he had such an impact in the Pittsburgh area throughout his time here. But just a joy to talk to Jack. That bobblehead story to me is absolutely hilarious. It could have been one of you out there, one of our listeners, one of our crazy Yinzers who was putting a Jack Wilson bobblehead on eBay trying to maybe make a few bucks because you had an extra sitting down in the basement in storage. And the person buying that bobblehead was, of course, none other than Jack Wilson. You can't make this stuff up, guys. Nobody else is going to bring you this other than the Yinzer Crazy podcast. All right, I teased it in the beginning. I want to announce it now. Our next guest, he is maybe a bit notorious for living on the South Side, but I think his finest moment may have been the shush game. Against the Philadelphia Flyers in Philadelphia. You know who I'm talking about. This is former Penguin Max Talbot. He's going to be our next big guest in the Yinzer Crazy Show. I want to make sure, once again, I get the fans involved on this. So after we post on Twitter or Facebook in the next few days that Max is going to be on the show, send us your questions. I will take the best fan question or the most fun fan question. It can be ridiculous. It could be, asinine, whatever you give me. I'm probably just going to decide at random what I'm going to ask Max, and that'll be our little segment, Ask Max. It's a bit of a tongue twister, but I'm all for it. And if you guys show us some love, of course, we're going to show you the love right back by getting you on the show. All right, follow us on social media, guys, at Yinzer Crazy Show on Twitter. Instagram is Yinzer_crazy, and Facebook are our Yinzer Crazy Show groups, which we're over about 10,000 unique followers. And continuing to grow each week, each day, each second. This has been an honor for us to bring you some Pittsburgh athletes and fun content each day. I can't wait to keep on doing it for a long time coming. I'm telling you, we're going to be a staple in this Pittsburgh industry. So get with us soon. But hey, even if you don't get with us now, even if it's 2 months from now, we're not going to kick you out of the barn. All right, guys, I hope you stay crazy. Stay warm. Put a freaking jacket on. All right, I know your moms, if they're out there, are probably texting you to put a jacket on and at least make sure you give yourself some time to clean off the car in the morning. prior to going to work and all that good stuff. We got a Steeler game somehow tomorrow at 3:40. So get prepped for that. Go time. We'll have a full recap on our site, of course. And just let us know any questions you might have. I want to thank Jack Wilson once more. I want to thank you guys, of course. As always, for JY, I'm Mike. Yin, stay crazy.
This is Ike T, two-time Super Bowl champion. And I think I know better than anybody else. Yins are crazy.
Just look for the man or the woman that's working all the time. Working all the time. Working long hours every day till the back aches. Never quit, get a cut just to want a band-aid. Talking about the folks building cars, making landscapes. Do the dirty work, know how to give a handshake. Pulling up at 4 in the morning to grab the trash. Spreading salt after a blizzard or an avalanche. Never complain when they have to work back to back to keep feed on the table. Could use a cash advance. Pittsburgh kid grew up learning hard work. Steel City, this is where blue collars start first. This ain't for you if you just graduated Harvard, but more for those who spend 20 hours off the harbor. They never worked this hard for a few dollars. Kept the room spotless, they don't do drama. Shout out to Union 1058, a true honor. This country couldn't run without